I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. This is another review. This time it's a series of reviews for Broad Stipe, who got one of the higher on my Patreon. I really appreciate that. If anyone's ever interested in requesting pretty much any type of video, you can request it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. I'm trying to get to them as soon as I can, so if you've done one, I will get to it. Like I said, as soon as I can, doing my best. But thank you to everyone who has done that. And even if you haven't, thank you for watching or commenting or so forth. I really do appreciate it. But again, for those interested, the links to PayPal, Patreon are both down in the info box. If not, no worries. Now, you wanted me to review the Kung Fu Panda trilogy. That's some of the reviews, including this one. Which I saw this around when it came out. Not in theaters, but on home video, on DVD. I think I was working at a video store at the time. I'm okay, I like Kung Fu films, and Kung Fu Panda seems like a silly, crazy idea, and the voice cast, you got Jack Black, you got Angelina Jolie, Dustin Hoffman, Seth Rogen, David Cross, Jackie Chan, Lucy Liu. Okay, what's this about? And it was a fun, charming kids film that still holds up to this day. After seeing all three, I do think it's the best one. Maybe because it does have the best story, which is why they kind of have to redo that story for part 2, part 3, where it's a story of him learning, having doubts of himself, thinking he's not who he is. I'm not this dragon warrior character, but it's a character who means well. And then by the end, after some searching, soul searching, learning, comedy, hijinks, does realize, no, this is who I am, and kicks the bad guy's ass at the end. And like I said, of the three, this one I thought did it the best. From beautiful animation, whether it be the Samurai Jack type of animation at the beginning where he's daydreaming about your enemies are being blinded by his awesomeness, and I thought Jack Black fit the voice role fairly well. You know what, it would have been fun if Chris Farley was still with us, if Chris Farley voiced the Kung Fu Panda. I like Jack Black, but maybe because I saw Beverly Hills Ninja and I love that film, I reviewed it on the channel. Like, Jack Black did a good job, but I think Chris Farley would have really knocked it out of the park. Like, I know he was up for Shrek. I'm not sure about what Chris Farley would have done for Shrek, but I think as Kung Fu Panda would have been perfect. But Jack Black does a good job. And he has his father, voiced by James Hahn, Lo Pan from Big Trouble in Little China, who's this goose. And throughout the films, he doesn't realize that's his dad. But then he says, of course I knew. So sometimes it says like he didn't know, but then sometimes it seems like he does know. if he didn't know, I kind of wonder if they're trying to do The Jerk, where Steve Martin didn't know he was white. But then sometimes like he does know, whatever. James Hahn, nice to have him be in there. Good actor. He voices the father who makes noodles, and the panda thinks he's just going to do that for the rest of his life, but he has dreams of something bigger. A lot of these movies start off that way, where you have the character, like The Last Starfighter. You have someone who's stuck in nowhere, and they think they could be higher up. Except The Last Starfighter, yeah, out of orbit. That kind of higher up. But with Jack Black's character, there's the Furious Five, these 5 warriors that are dangerous and to take care of themselves, like Mantis and Monkey and Tidris. Which just sounds stupid. For some reason, I always thought there was going to be some love story thing between Poe and Tidris. Maybe because I'm so used to movies having love stories put in there. Although I would have not have minded, because at least Tidris would have had something to her character. That's kind of one of my flaws with this trilogy, is that the Furious Five, they seem like prominent characters, but unless you watch some fucking direct-to-video thing called Secrets of the Furious Five, unless you watch that, you don't know shit about these characters, and you never get to know the shit about these characters. I'm like, wait a minute, why don't you put some of this stuff from their Secrets of the Furious 5 DVD, why don't you sprinkle that to the characters throughout these 3 movies? So that character could get some prominence, or that character some backstory, that character a little bit of meat to the bones. I think that would have been nice, but what do I know? But the character Jack Black voices, like I say, means well. No one believes in him except this older tortoise, who's the master. Dustin Hoffman, who's below him, he thinks this is bullshit. Tries to get him to quit. He doesn't. Gets the respect of the Furious Five. And throughout all this, I wouldn't say these movies made me laugh, but they had a charming sense of fun to them. And this in particular had a very fast pace, and all 3 have beautiful animation. That's one thing you cannot knock, is the animation is top notch. Beautiful, colorful vistas, and the fight scenes, they're fluid and just beautifully animated. And the villains, like the second one you got Gary Oldman, the third one you have J.K. Simmons here, it's Ian McShane, which I would say this villain I liked the best. Maybe because I liked Ian McShane, but because I think of the John Wick films and his character in those. Obviously play a different character. I like the snow leopard look to him. Also just the fact that, he was like a son of Dustin Hoffman's character, so you did as a story point that was more interesting to me than in the others. The fight at the end is fun. Well, one thing I mentioned, the humor. One bit of humor I was charming is when Dustin Hoffman realizes there's something to this panda, that he's able to do all this crazy stuff to get to some cookies. And it was Monty's cookies. And he looks at him, he's like, "Don't tell Monty." I mean, it was so silly that it did make me chuckle. And the training scene between Dustin Hoffman and the panda, it's hard to review animated films because you can't talk about cinematography, obviously. How many times can you express, this is well animated, this is beautifully animated? The voice actors fit the roles well. Again, the Furious Five didn't really have anything to do. Even in the second and third, technically they had stuff to do, because they have a fight with the villain on the bridge. They think they did it. They did. They get caught, and then that's where Jack Black's character comes in. But I just meant as characters, there's really nothing to them. So it just felt like it was a waste of, like, you got Jackie Chan voicing one of these characters. If you combine all of his lines in all 3 movies, you'd be lucky if you got a paragraph from all 3 movies combined. It just seems a waste of some of these notable actors you got to voice some of these characters. I mean, you got Van Damme to voice the Clarke in part 2, and he has like 4 lines. So and then I think the Clarke appears in part 3, but I don't remember even having any lines. Anyway, so on the flip side, the fight when he fights the Snow Leopard, I like that there could have been a notion of really beating the hell out of Jack Black's character, making things really dire, and then the comeback. But with the look of the panda and how cute it is and the way Jack Black plays it, part of me thinks that would have been very, I want to say, inconsistent with the tone, that maybe that would have turned things off kilter. Because it may, where he's getting hit, but it does become sort of a one-sided fight, where Jack Black gets hit but bounces back and hits him, and even when he gets hit, he's like, whoa. It's not like, oh, that too serious. Maybe some people would have liked that. Here I thought it worked better with his consistency. And it seemed like a little bit of, I want to say drunken master, but he didn't get drunk, but sort of the way he let the movements flow, almost like a drunken master type. And it was just fun to see the bad guy, who's this hard-ass, badass, fuck with everybody, not give a shit, and then get to pretty much a scared kitten. And the choreography is good. You get the tail, throw it up, slam the guy down. This little thing with the finger. No. You're bluffing. He didn't teach you that. It was nice to see sort of transition of the villain become a scaredy cat, pun intended. And I always wondered what that happened when he did the finger thing, but you find out in part 3, he's in the spirit world, asshole, and they can't see us. But yeah, it's a nice story. Typical, sure. The person who's a nobody becomes a somebody and becomes the big hero of the village. But it's a sweet story. The voice actors do their jobs well. The pacing, I thought, worked the best here of the 3. Endearing, beautiful animation, well done fight sequences. I don't know why so many of these fucking films have to resort to kung fu fighting at the end of their movies. Like, I would love someone to count how many fucking movies, I mean, even Super Cop did this, but how many movies that deal with martial arts ends with kung fu fighting? I'm like, there's other fucking songs than kung fu fighting. Everybody was kung fu fighting. I didn't know how many fucking movies have to end with that fucking song. It just lacks creativity and imagination. Even that point, 2000, like, yeah, I use that. Like, there's no other fucking songs. Hell, I would have been more, you know what? I would have been more tip to the hat if it was something like Never Surrender. Like, can you imagine if they used Never Surrender, well, I guess the lyric does say never say die, and they don't want die in an animation, so maybe, just some other song. I think it would have been a lot more creative to do that. So yeah, I wish keep saying Secret 5, the Furious 5, people like Jackie Chan voices characters, that they had more meat to them, like a little bit more. Like maybe the first one I could deal with, okay, it's introduction and everything, but then the sequels, they could have done more with those characters. I did not for fucking direct-to-video Secrets of the Furious bullshit. And some other little stuff. But overall, very fun movie, entertaining film, good for the kids, and at least it still holds up fairly well. So, thanks for watching, take care, and stay tuned for more reviews. Later.